There are some major concerns for feminist literary criticism. Number one is stereotypical representation of genders. Males are superior than females. So, this idea, which was presented through the continuation of the history of human beings, this particular idea is still present in different writers, in different ideas which are presented by the writers. Number two is marginalization of females. The female writers or female human beings or the females are all the time marginalized. They are considered to be inferior. They are because their vision, their ideas is limited, are limited, and they are not allowed to go out or to move about in society. So they don't have any radical ideas. They don't have the particular free ideas like men, because men are able to search and research something, because they are traveling from one place to another place, and they are free movers. Women were not at all free movers, so they didn't have particular ideas for writing, and they were not have that ability. Number three is a few ideas and issues are presented through feminist lens or feminist style. There are only fewer limited ideas which can be presented through feminist ideas or feminist style, and these ideas help feminist critics to examine gender politics in works, and they trace a subtle construction of masculinity and femininity, and they understand gender politics within literary works. All these things were the major concerns so far as feminist literary criticism was concerned. Number two was women oppression by the patriarchy. Feminist critics argue that women's oppression has in vogue for ages in patriarchal cultures, where there are males are dominated, where there are males are considered superior. This patriarchal oppression is in fashion. Women oppression has social psychological aspects. These aspects are based on some fear or phobias on the part of women, and they are feeling insecure while living in their own homes, because they think that they don't have the freedom of speech or freedom of expression, and they can't even express their ideas just because of the fear of the people or the public, or even their own family members will not understand them. All aspects tied directly to traditional system of male dominance at the head of the family. Patriarchal family structures are represented in nearly all cultures, old literary works, and in 1970s, feminist criticism went exploring mechanisms of patriarchy, the cultural mindset in men and women which perpetuated sexual inequality, and the male oriented society, the male dominated society is always there to present everything from the perspectives of males. Number three is consideration about women as secondary member. Women's oppression has historically been rationalized due to supposed differences in male versus female physical and mental capabilities. So you can say that biologically these two genders are different, naturally these two genders are different, and physically these two genders are different. So they have different capabilities or abilities as well. Women are often granted no decision making powers, that women are considered to be not wise or wiser as the men are. So they are not able to participate in decision making process, and they are not at all even asked by men to have some decision. All the time they say that they have raw ideas, they have raw thinking, they don't have any maturity in them. So the decision making power is all the time in the hands of males, just because of their maturity or mature level. If given them the decision making parts, then are given a few decision making parts. If to some extent some societies or some families are able to give some weightage to the ideas as well as decisions of the women, they are only giving them the right to decide about some things but not everything. Women are considered as secondary members of society. They are not the primary or primal forces in society. So being the secondary members, they are underrated. They are the creatures of secondary importance. um, This concept is found in many literary pieces which reflect through different cultures and societies to present women as secondary members. Cultural discrimination against women. Male authors whose writings based on religious concepts depict women as the causes of sin and death in literature, where females are considered as counterpart to male masculinity. Mostly, the literatures are the stories which are present in literature. They present that particular first sin which related to the Adam and Eve story, and that was the man's first expulsion from the Garden of Eden. And according to many writers, the females, especially Eve, was the source of first sin. Females as symbol of deception, that all the time females no, are not able to be called or entitled as uh, sincere members, loyal members, or faithful members. They are the symbol of deception. They are there to deceive their family members. It is tagged to women that they are deceptive creatures, they are not sincere creatures. And cleverness. Women are cleverer than the males in society, and they are taken as the symbol of cleverness. They are just the creatures who always try their level best to present themselves in the form of the wiser, whereas males think that they are cleverer. Mischievousness, that all the time they are busy in creating some mischiefs, creating domestic politics, conspiracies, as well as the strategies which are against other people but which are in the benefits of these ladies. They are oblivion creatures, that they, when they are there to create some sin, they get some sort of forgetfulness about their duties or ideas which are based on their responsibilities. They are bewitching source of attraction. The women are physically attractive, socially attractive, and literature has presented them as the most attractive creatures. So their eyes, their physical features like lips and all other things are there to give sensuous delight to the people. So all the beauty related to females is the basic source of um, attraction, as well as these four sources are bewitching sources, and they are fallen creature. uh, this is the philosophy related to the females, that they have fallen themselves from their standards of humanity just because of their um, wrong ideas, negative ideas, as well as negative actions. There are three different important waves so far as feminism is concerned. The first wave is related to 1700s to the early 90s, meaning the whole 18th century. This was the wave which presented men's treatment of women in every sense, on societal basis, psychological basis, emotional basis, and on all the issues which were related to the treatment. It focused on inequalities between the sexes. What were the sexes? Men and women. It contains women's suffrage movement led by Susan B. Anthony and Victoria Woodhull. And in 1929, the women were given the right to cast vote for the first time in history. It viewed how male authors projected women in fictional works, that they projected women as fallen creatures, source of sin, source of attraction, source of cleverness, and all the time insincere and disloyal creatures. Feminist critics considered these ways to point out the marginalization and discrimination of women. In one culture, women are considered as the inferior, in other culture, the inferior most. That these creatures are not at all appreciated or not considered equal on the same grounds like men. So one culture is presenting them as the marginalized creatures, the other is also presenting them as the discriminated creatures. uh, Wife of Bath by Geoffrey Chaucer, A Vindication of the Rights of Women by Mary Wollstonecraft, Thinking About Women by Mary Ellman, Sexual Politics by Kate Millett. These books are produced in the first wave of movement, and these writers were in favor of the feminism, as well as the freedom of education and freedom of working, or good working conditions, and women should not at all be considered as marginalized and discriminated creatures. So these were the first versions of the first wave of feminism. The second wave, which was started in early 1960s to late 1970s, and this wave was related to gynocraticism, and it focused on more equal working conditions in USA during World War II. Before World War One, the scene of the whole world was opposite to the scene after the World War One, but specifically in the years during World War Two, USA also had some different conditions so far as working and job areas or job ideas for women were concerned. It brought women forward for feminist political activism, that women were not only there to have some good jobs or some the opportunities for education, but women also got some sort of freedom to be active on the basis of political grounds, and most of them became feminist political activists. Gynocraticism involved three different aspects. Number one is examination and recognition of female writers' work. What is the main job, what is the main idea, what is the main purpose, as well as the goal of female writer. So this was the time to recognize this sort of obligation as well as work created by women writer, and then it must be examined on all the basic grounds of that uh, time. Number two is consideration of the treatment of women in literary works by both male and female authors. Number three is exploring the canon of literature written by female writers in order to understand female writers, their contributions in the context of female empowerment, and criticizing the ways women have been treated or mistreated in various cultures. This was the time to scrutinize or explore about the ideas of the projection of female writers as well as the female characters, because now the time women were becoming empowered in the world, and being an empowered member of any society, women were being recognized throughout the world that they must not at all be projected or objectified like a tool or toy. They must not at all be mistreated by human beings. Simone de Beauvoir and Elaine Showalter established the groundwork for feminist theories, and these two writers talked about the basic ideas of women related to their physique, related to their education and freedom, as well as the living style of women in society. Elaine Showalter presented three phases in her book, A Literature of Their Own. Number one is feminine phase. Women writers try to follow rules made by male writers to avoid debating, questioning women's place in the literature, and to write as men by using male pseudonyms. This was the time when the first phase, feminine or female writers were supposed to not to use their own names, but if they wanted to present something, they had to write something with the name of men. Number two is feminist phase. Here, the women writers begin criticizing women's treatment in society and literature, and the oppression of women in society is the main theme of gender criticism in their works. Now, criticism was also started in second phase, meaning feminist phase, where women all the time uh, writing about the judgment of the treatment of women in society, that what sort of oppression is being inflicted upon the women by society, and why this thing was not being highlighted in the history. Now this has become the main theme of the writing in that particular phase. Third and last phase is women writers begin moving from merely providing the women's perspective to having confidence in their work and assuming that whatever they have written is valid and does not need aggressive arguments and support to prove its authenticity. The things which were produced by men in history, they were authentic. They were titled as the authentic ones. Now the same struggle was being launched in the favor of female writers, that whatever they are writing, they must be entitled as authentic one. Third wave, which was started in 1990, early 1990, and it is still present. You may say that the third wave's time period is 1990s to date. It focuses on to resist the perceived essentialist, overgeneralized and oversimplifies ideologies and white, uh, heterosexual, middle class focus of second wave feminism. What was presented in first wave of feminism, that was judged and researched in second wave, and what was presented in second wave, or what was the conclusion of second wave of feminism, now it was under discussion or under consideration of the third wave. So the ideas of overgeneralization, oversimplification ideologies, as well as white or heterosexual issues or middle class issues or focus, which were presented in feminism, now they were represented by third wave. Third wave emphasizes individual rights as well as acceptance of diversity. Whatever the condition of diversity is, you have to accept it, and afterwards, you have to become the champion of individual rights or human rights. Riot Girl, which was presented in early 1990s, was basically a feminist punk, and Alice Walker worked in her own minor community. In 1983, wrote In Search of Our Mother's Garden. That was also a work which turned out the base of third wave of feminism, and it worked for the rights, basic rights and individual rights of minor community while living in one big or large country. 1980s was a decisive year when Deborah McDowell's uh, work, New Directions for Black Feminist Criticism, came to the surface of history, or came to the surface of life, and this was also one turning work which distracted the people towards it as well as attracted the people towards it. That some of the people in the world wanted to distract themselves, that this idea was not at all good, but some people in the world, you may say that majority of the people, turned their attention towards it, that it is not a bad thing if white people or people of colored creature are going to have basic rights, so far as women are concerned, why not the black women are there to enjoy the same rights. Lillian S. Robinson's work, Treason Out Text, Feminist Challenges to the Literary Canon, was main work which was published in 1983, and it was also the work which provided the base to the pure feminist critique. Camille Pagelia's Sexual Personae, the androgyne in literature and art in 1990, was also one of the best works which was uh, paved the way for the present generations as well as for the upcoming generations to accept the basic rights and individual rights of the women in society and in any society.